Yummy cryptids.
Did you just say yummy cryptids?
Yeah, cryptids can be yummy. And this looks like brains.
Is this a sex thing? And by the way, it's zombies that eat brains. Are zombies even cryptids?
Brains.
Okay, stop. You're creeping me out.
Brains.
No!
Oh, Miss B, don't act like you haven't gotten your kinky groove on with The Walking Dead.
Ew. Well, okay, maybe once, but that was just the lust thing.
I knew it.
Can zombies even love?
Of course they can. They can even get married.
Wait, what? Zombies can get married?
Yeah, and there's even a movie about it. It's called The Zombie Wedding. Get this. In a world where a human woman and her zombie husband-to-be are just trying to fulfill their dream wedding, a zombie apocalypse ensues, and everyone is left having to navigate a zombie outbreak in pure chaos, love, and brains.
Okay, hold up. This is real? The Zombie Wedding is a real movie?
Oh, hell yeah. It's this hilarious saga where love isn't just blind, it actually never dies.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Okay, get this. Okay. Ashley Morgan, a living, breathing woman, super charming, by the way, falls head over heels for this guy, Zach Porter, who just happens to be adorably lovable, but, well, becomes a zombie. But that's not even the craziest part. The whole movie takes place around their wedding journey, which is packed with insane situations, like trying to find the right caterer for a zombie's appetite, like fill their hunger.
Wait, what are you even talking about? So this is like a romantic horror comedy?
Yeah, it's a zomcom, and it totally gives Rocky Horror vibes. And it's not just about the laughs, there's also a really surprisingly sweet love story buried underneath the chaos and shenanigans. And it was written by the head honcho over at Weekly World News.
Wait, I love Weekly World News. Bat Boy is adorable, and who knew zombies could be romantic? I'm sold. Where do I get to see this?
Well, you don't have to wait too long. It comes out in a few weeks, on Friday the 13th. And guess what? I might have totally done a thing.
A thing? What you do?
Maybe I got in touch with the director for him to come on here in a few minutes and do a quick chat with us. He's going to give us and our rapidly growing podcast all the juicy details about the film.
Wait, am I interviewing this guy? You didn't even give me any time to prepare.
You see the smile? Oh, you got this. And he's a huge cryptid fan, so we get to talk to him about the movie and about cryptids.
Okay, then.
So then that being said, folks, don't go anywhere. Director Micah Khan is joining us on this very episode of Eerie Echoes with Miss B. You're not going to want to miss it. And now, check out the trailer for The Zombie Wedding!
Let's put our hearts in each other's hands. For life.
Our wedding is gonna be perfect.
I'm a proud member of the Elks Club. They have agreed to allow me to use the Vamoose Hall for the wedding.
Daddy, no. Zombie uprising. Come on. That can't be real.
You better stay back before I knock you all the way to Philly.
I'm not shouting, I'm giving orders. This is an emergency situation!
This might not be a normal apocalypse, sweetheart. Zachy might not have gone full zombie.
My Zach is dead to you, do you hear me?
Is that him? Oh.
Zach, my love, we can handle anything together.
Except if I turn into a zombie.
I'm not totally perfect either.
I'd rather stab myself with a bull spear than let you marry a zombie arrow.
I would never hurt you.
You just bit your mom!
I will love you in truth forever.
Get ready! The first wedding between a human and zombie.
You boys clean up real nice.
Carla, I have a hug with your name on here.
Oh no,
Here it comes.
Love knows no living or dead. Love is an idiot.
Time to wake up the dead.
Come on, you crazy ass zombies. Friends.
I'm not dying in New Jersey.
Hello, adventurous souls, and welcome to another electrifying episode of Eerie Echoes with your cryptid connoisseur, Miss B. Tonight, we're going on a tantalizing journey into the heart of the Appalachian wilds, where the whispers of the enigmatic send shivers through your senses and spark the imagination through the realms of Pennsylvania's Chestnut Ridge and beyond. But before we get started, let me give you a little peek behind the curtain. We're a small indie crew that is absolutely obsessed with everything paranormal and unexplained. Since starting this exhilarating ride, we've cooked up some pretty nifty gear just for you. And if you're loving our spooky adventures, like, subscribe, and follow on all your social media platforms and at our YouTube channel so that you never miss out on any of our stuff. And also, get some gear. Let's make this exhilarating ride fantastic together. Tonight, we're diving into the dark, mysterious corners of the world where the wild things really are. From the sultry swamps hiding the seductive sirens to the shadowy forests where the big bad beasts might be lurking. Eerie Echoes is turning up the heat on all things cryptid. I even have a story of my own. A lonely drive on a darkening rural road where things took an unexpected turn. And let's just say some cryptids might not be as elusive as we think they are. So stick around. I might just spill the tea if you're up for some mystery. We're thrilled at how quickly our show is growing and are extremely honored to have been able to interview some of the most respected figures in this field so far. We're even starting to garner some attention outside of the paranormal realm into the entertainment industry. Later in this episode, we're going to be interviewing an actual Hollywood director whose film is being released this September everywhere. So make sure you stick around, and thank you so much for all the support and excitement surrounding this journey that we're on. We approach each episode as researchers and historians. We dive deep into facts and the stories that make the paranormal world so captivating. Research is at the heart of our show. Our goal is to craft episodes that appeal to a wide audience, whether a seasoned investigator or simply interested in the unknown, by meticulously approaching each angle to make sure that our episodes are engaging and informative, resonate with both history and mystery to keep our listeners coming back for more. Help us keep this momentum going. If you're enjoying our deep dives into the unknown, make sure you follow, share, comment. Your engagement helps us reach more curious minds. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We are at EerieEchoesShow. And follow us on YouTube at the Eerie Echoes with Miss B channel. So grab your flashlights. Keep your eyes peeled for the shadows in the trees and the ripples in the waters as we wander into the enigmatic. Let's explore these downright beastly mysteries that make our hearts skip a beat and our imagination soar. And with that being said, in the shadowy depths of Appalachia, where the legendary Chestnut Ridge and other dark, mysterious areas loom, the line between myth and reality, it blurs. And this is where the cryptids roam, along with other legends and entities that have persisted throughout the generations, even eons. As we wander into this eerie wilderness to uncover the stories that have stalked these lands, there is one chilling question that still remains. What unknown horrors are still hiding in moonlit Appalachia? Get ready, darlings, because Miss B is here to tease out the truth behind those fascinating folklores. So grab your flashlights, hold me close and cozy, and let's wander out together into the night. Are you ready? Let's go. Eerie Echoes with Miss B starts now.
Eerie Echoes with Miss B, where the Appalachian wild things are. Flying high above the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon with nothing but acres of land stretching endlessly beneath me, I can't help but to marvel at how these dense forests, mostly untouched for centuries, could hide anything. A creature, a secret, lost to time, never to be seen again. The hemlocks, towering and ancient, form a canopy so thick it feels like the forest itself is keeping its secrets close, concealed from the prying eyes above and about. As I launch my DJI Phantom 4 drone from beside the historic Grand Canyon Lookout Tower, standing 2,100 feet above sea level, I'm struck by the eerie stillness of the deserted park. With the sun setting, the air grows cooler and the quiet around me deepens. There's something unsettling about being alone here with just the wind and the darkening sky. Win-win. The landscapes of Appalachia, so varied and vast, seem to open countless doors to stories of obscure creatures, half-forgotten legends, and perhaps even the remnants of ancient civilizations. I'm reminded of a road trip I once took from North Carolina to Chicago, where my friends and I, driving through rural West Virginia, found ourselves inventing tales of flipper babies, a name that came to mind as we passed through those small, isolated towns surrounded by the deep, mysterious Appalachian landscape. It's hard to distinguish between cryptids and legends, isn't it? And if we're going to label one group of deities as mythology, then maybe they should all be. But that's a discussion for another day. The line blurs when you consider that many of these stories come from cultures that weren't looking for fame, but simply recounting what they saw and knew. These tales have been around long before the first colonists set foot on this land. Banshees and fairies, Nessie, La Patasola, Mokalibembe, Ogopogo, Champ, Yeti, La Llorona, Sasquatch. People have been seeing, experiencing, and telling stories about mysterious creatures for as long as people have been telling stories. And Appalachia has no shortage of these so-called stories. I mean, it was here where the Moon-Eyed people lived among the natives of the area. And more recent sightings of beings like the Mantis Man in northwestern New Jersey have stirred up local legends and curiosity. And for New Jersey, local legends are practically business. This cryptid, described as a towering humanoid insect with piercing eyes, like a praying mantis, has been spotted near the Muskenetcong River, often seen by unsuspecting fishermen and hikers. The accounts are eerily similar, with witnesses recounting encounters that left them both terrified and in awe of this strange otherworldly creature. I first heard about the Mantis Man in casual conversation with an amazing friend as we were simply talking about things that go bump in the night. At first, the story seemed almost silly, just another urban legend to pass the time. But how often is silly just silly and then becomes coincidence, and then something more? When you hear the same story from different people, each with their own unsettling detail and their likenesses, you start to wonder if there's more truth lurking in the shadows than you'd like to admit. And if the answer is the human collective hive mind, that's kind of remarkable all on its own. Despite at least hundreds of years of these accounts, there are always those who dismiss them, claiming with utter certainty that such creatures can't possibly exist. How many interviews have you seen where some scientist with that smug expression confidently explains away these mysteries, insisting they're impossible simply because they've never been photographed? Need I remind them that the coelacanth was thought to be extinct for millions of years? Or when the kraken, aka giant squid, was a leviathan to sailors. The mountain gorilla was thought to be a legend. So were tapirs, South American pigs with elephant trunks. And how about the Javanese mountain leech, identified through DNA analysis only from leech bites on humans, but never actually been observed? It is believed to inhabit the remote mountains of Java, but it remains elusive. I always want to jump up and say, hold on, we're hurtling through space on a spinning rock, surrounded by a universe full of dark matter and cosmic debris. Bigfoot and the chupacabras aren't the craziest things out there. We live in a world where the unimaginable is real, so why dismiss anything as impossible? Just the other day, I heard someone say, if I can get a picture of an animal when there are only 100 left in the world, then why don't we have a photo of Bigfoot? Well, maybe that rare cat doesn't have the same reasons to stay hidden that Bigfoot does. And maybe, just maybe, these creatures have a human-like awareness that keep them out of sight. Maybe Bigfoot is choosing to not be found. Interestingly, there are people at Harvard who are open to these possibilities. Enter the cryptoterrestrial hypothesis. Early this year, 2024, a groundbreaking paper from Harvard researchers proposed a mind-bending idea. What if many unexplained phenomena, often attributed to extraterrestrials, are actually the work of an ancient hidden race living alongside us on Earth, right now? That was Harvard. These beings, dubbed cryptoterrestrials, might have evolved in parallel with humans, possibly for thousands or even millions of years. Perhaps the legend of elves, fairies, and other mythical beings are distorted memories of real encounters with these hidden neighbors. The theory was explored by Dr. Tim Lomas, Dr. Brendan Case, and Dr. Michael Paul Masters, respected academics who each bring their own unique expertise to the table. Dr. Lomas is known for his work in positive psychology, Dr. Case for his deep dives into theology and philosophy, and Dr. Masters for his innovative ideas on human evolution and time travel. Together, they suggest that these cryptoterrestrials might be advanced humanoids, remnants of ancient civilizations, or even entities from parallel dimensions. According to this hypothesis, these beings possess technology far beyond our own, allowing them to remain hidden and manipulate their environment. It's a theory that fits perfectly with what many UFO and UAP whistleblowers have been saying about our intergalactic planetary intergalactic visitors, a topic we covered in our previous episode, High Strangeness. Now, the idea isn't entirely new. It's been explored by Mac Tanis on his book, aptly named The Cryptoterrestrials. He suggested that these hidden beings use advanced technology and psychological manipulations to interact with us, shaping our perceptions while keeping themselves elusive. Maybe that's why I sometimes walk into a room and completely forget what I went in there to get. Of course, some in the scientific community remain skeptical, but the call for epistemic humility, that is, the recognition that we don't know everything, invites us to keep an open mind. The universe, and very likely just our own world, is full of mysteries waiting to be unraveled. As we look up at the night sky, we have to wonder, are we truly alone, or are these cryptoterrestrials, our ancient hidden cousins, watching us from the shadows? This has been a glimpse into the cryptoterrestrial hypothesis, a tantalizing mystery that bridges folklore, modern science, and the uncharted realms of the unknown. And as I shift back to my Appalachian state of mind, it's the Susquehanna seal that captures my imagination. In 1993, paleontologists discovered a 365 million-year-old fossil from the Devonian period, a creature they called Hynerpeton, or creeping animal from Hyner. This fish with fingers resembled a large salamander eerily similar to the descriptions of the Susquehanna seal, a creature said to inhabit the west branch of the Susquehanna River for centuries. While this discovery doesn't confirm the seal's existence, it certainly opens the door to a plausible theory using the scientific process. After all, with so many accounts of these cryptids and legends, it's hard to believe there's nothing to them. Cultures separated by thousands of miles and vast oceans have stories that are too similar to be mere coincidence. Maybe that's why, when you feel that distinct sensation of being watched, your hairs stand on end. Piloerection, a primal response inherited from our ancestors reminding us that there's something out there, especially if we can't see it. Maybe there's a lot of somethings out there. And so I keep finding myself asking this same question, episode after episode. What is it about this area that is so active with the obscure?
Bigfoot, UFOs makes us more human because it shows that we have weaknesses, and we also have this hubris that we know everything. But to think that there's something out there lurking on the periphery of our civilization also puts us in our place and makes us understand that we might not be the end-all and be-all of creation.
My wife and I both are energy people. We're energy, we connect with nature, intentions from our heart to the cosmos, and we're connecting in those ways, and we're having these really cool experiences. Like, I don't know how to describe it to people.
Chestnut Ridge, let me tell you, is one of those places that we all refer to as high strangeness.
Right.
Because they literally have it all. They have numerous types of cryptid sightings.
Do you have a theory on why maybe it's so?
You look at the Native American, the grid lines, for energy.
Right.
And all kinds of different things like that. What's in the ground here is that there's quartz. Quartz crystal is a very powerful conductor.
Right.
High magnetic fields. There's different areas like that around the globe that seem to attract or cause a lot of this stuff to happen.
Okay.
If not for Bigfoot, I would have remained a closed-minded individual. I would have not looked into the universe the way I do now. And I wouldn't have had an open mind the way I do with people. I tell people all the time that Bigfoot, it's fun to believe in.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to do this. I speak at 20 or 30 of these a year.
Okay.
And at these events, it doesn't matter if you're black or white, you're gay or straight, Republican, Democrat, left or right. It doesn't matter. We are all here for the same collective goal, to talk about and believe in something. And that is what makes this a beautiful community that we work and live in as far as the Bigfoot cryptozoology world goes.
Hey everybody, Miss B here in Elysburg, Pennsylvania, and I am with Jamie.
My name's Jamie King. My wife and I got into the Sasquatch because my father lived with us for a year. He had bone cancer. After he passed away, my wife said, you need to get back into what you were doing and gave you joy. So joy for me was always being a part of nature. Because my wife's a Reiki healer and I do forest ecotherapy. So we were hiking and we were with my beagle. Before we got on this trail, I said a prayer. I said, Dad, if you're here, give me a sign. Because I wanted to feel this connection with my dad after he passed. As we go down to this part of the reservoir, my dog started acting strange. And when I picked my dog up, we heard this vocalization, this long drawn out like, and literally, my wife and I watched this puddle in front of us ripple on the ground.
Oh, wow.
And we both stood there kind of like in shock, like what is happening? And literally we made eye contact and we weren't saying anything, but we were watching the trees in front of us shaking. And I don't know what it was, but we both turned and we started hiking out, and I'm still carrying my dog. And behind us, you could hear this thing, and it almost sounded like there were two of them, like one on one side and one on the other, making this loud guttural vocalization and almost like pushing us out of the woods.
Okay.
So we hiked back up this trail, and when we got home, we both were like, what was that? You know, like literally, what did we experience? And to make a long story short, over the weeks that passed after that, we kept researching vocalization sounds of what we might have heard. And we came across this vocalization called the Ohio Howl.
Okay.
It's one of the most well-known East Coast vocalizations of Sasquatch. And it was basically recorded by Matt Moneymaker in Wellsville, Ohio.
Okay.
And I realized Shenango Reservoir, where we had our experience, is only 40 miles from where Wellsville was. And I had never thought about Bigfoot in any kind of context at all. So what we heard, and compared to that vocalization, was 100% what we heard, the same kind of sound. So then we took our friend back to the location, who's a fish and game and wildlife guy, and I showed him the area, not thinking I'm going to have another encounter. We had another encounter. So we're hiking out and we heard this thing make this loud noise.
Right.
And I thought it was a person coming through the woods. And then we heard what sounded like a bark.
Okay.
And then we heard a whistle. And I told my wife, get the dogs on the leash. I don't know what's going to come out. So we went to the edge of this ravine and we watched this thing stand straight up, and it went straight away from us. And it was very much the shape of that right there.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not saying Bigfoot, but I'm saying that it felt like Bigfoot for sure. That's kind of like where our life changed. So I'm thinking about this Bigfoot encounter, dissecting it in my mind over and over again. And the one thing I didn't think about was this prayer that I said to my dad, if you're here, give me a sign. And this is where it's sort of hard for me to talk about, but as I'm driving in my car, the memory came back to me. He wanted to watch a movie, so he picked out a movie. The very last memory that I had with my dad was him watching Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh my goodness.
So it's like,
wow.
It took on this weirdly very physical experience with like what I believe to be Sasquatch into this like very spiritual, very much connected to prayer. And then I had started thinking to myself, what is the power of our thoughts and our prayer, and where do they go? And then it became, you know, my life changed in so many different ways after both my parents died.
On your Instagram, I saw where you just recently had an experience.
So we were doing a Bigfoot lecture at this place called Mortals Keys Brewery in Jamestown, Pennsylvania. And we're talking about Bigfoot, and the owner and the employees all rushed up to us and they said, this is so cool. We're so glad you're here, because we have this thing that appears outside the brewery in this little gully. So they have this little area behind the brewery where they say that they see this little troll, and it breaks, it comes in the brewery, it breaks things, it's outside, it kicks over plants. And they said they've seen it, like visually seen it, and they've all described it to us. So I was like, if someone has a story, I'm going to document it. Who am I to say that somebody's not telling the truth? Because literally it's a lot of people. I'm a firm believer in being a good listener and being open to all.
Anything big in the works? What's your next research thing?
I'm trying to put together a project. On the West Coast, all the Native American tribes have their belief system with Sasquatch. So my wife and I research sort of very spiritually.
Right.
So I'm contacting several indigenous tribes on the East Coast, trying to document their voice.
Okay.
So I want their perspective on Bigfoot and on the East Coast, because I think it's missing. A lot of the indigenous tribes, their ceremonial beliefs became part of the DNA of the land.
Right.
And that's me looking at it through the lens of being a healer with nature, and my wife with her Reiki. That's how we look at it.
Hey, Hey, everybody. I'm with Ron Murphy. Would you mind telling us a little bit about what you do?
Well, sure, yeah. I investigate things that go bump in the night. If it wasn't for Stan Gordon, I probably wouldn't be here. Back in the day before there was podcasts, there was a thing called radio, which you might have heard about one time, right? So you would tune in the dial, and then he would be on about once or twice a month talking about encounters. So we would listen to him on a Saturday night, and the next day my mother would take my brother and I out. We would go investigate these sites together. So as a child, I was always brought up with the idea that there might be something out there that we have not been exposed to or categorized or whatever. So that's my kind of nascence in this kind of the field. That was my genesis. Life is too boring without it, don't you think so?
I would have to agree with that 100%. When you were first starting to investigate things, what did you look to find?
Well, I think it was the footprints. Always is going to be the footprints, because that's how we knew that there was something out there. People would see, strange upright figures, but it was always the evidence that was left behind that people could actually pick up and hold was the cast of the footprint. So that's what we would look for,
And that's actually what you have on your table that we scanned right before we did it.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am, that's right.
And those are casts
No, these are casts that Stan Gordon has actually done some of those.
Okay.
And Eric Altman had done other ones as well, too.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I went to the University of Pittsburgh and I studied literature, and then I studied history. And what was fascinating is I delve into the literature and the folklore around the world. You see these reoccurring archetypes of the wild man. So as you connect the dots, we see that, there's been something going on. There's something's been out there that's affected us who we are. The reason why we do these kind of events is because it does provide us with an open forum to talk about various things. That's why I look forward to it, is the meeting people.
Have you done anything or heard anything about Thunderbird up in our region?
I have, actually. Stan Gordon, who's a legend in Pennsylvania research, he's actually the mentor of my mentor. So he's my grandpa mentor. He'll send occasional Thunderbird reports my way to investigate, because we do get them up our way. And I know we have eagles, but sometimes these things are seen to be much larger.
I had a friend who's kind of local to where I am. They don't want their name out there. When she found out I was doing this, she was like, so, have you ever experienced skeleton bird? Very big skeleton bird that came out of the corner of their property and up over the house at dusk. And she said, and then they got a big storm the next day.
That's weird.
Which, she's not the type of person that would just make a statement like that and then go on her merry way. There was something legitimate in that statement.
And that's what's fascinating about what we do, Mrs. B, is that when you start doing it, you start getting reports from people in a million years you'd never think would get a report from. Because you know them, and you're like, why would this person tell me that?
Right.
What do they get out of it by telling me something that's not true? There are some people that do it because they like to create a stink or like the attention.
Right.
But then there also are some people that
do it because they trust us with their story.
They want us to tell their story, which in itself that's honorable. To me, that's great.
That is.
You trust me enough to tell your story.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. And then we owe it to them to, keep it serious, keep them confidential. Right. And I think that's amazing.
I am with Les Odell. Les, how did you get involved in all of this?
I was into the paranormal, investigating from when I had an experience as a kid, got into paranormal stuff, so investigated that. Instead of running from it, I embraced it, and I would listen to everything you can imagine. Stories, scary stories, read books, and later on, people started asking me, would you look into things? And I'm like, yeah. And then my son, what do you want to do this weekend? And he goes, I want to go ghost hunting. So I bought some stuff and we started doing some ghost hunting, and it grew. And he ended up getting more interested in Bigfoot. He started listening to podcasts and stuff like that. And he asked me about it, and I'm like, yeah, I really like it. It's never been something in my mind in the forefront, but I've always liked cryptid stuff. I started listening to podcasts and stuff and got into it more. And then eventually through discussion, we're like, it'd be really cool for Facebook or something where people can come and share their stories from West Virginia, share their encounters, whether it's Bigfoot, whether it's ghosts, aliens, it didn't matter to us, So we started West Virginia Cryptids and Strange Encounters, and people came and started liking it. And then I shared one story about Bigfoot, and that's when people started sending me stuff. They started saying, hey, I've seen this, I've heard this, and or I've had family members and that have seen it. We have them on our property. So I would talk to people, and I'd take reports and I'd sit for hours sometimes and just listen, because some people just wanted to listen or wanted you to listen to them.
Right.
So I would sit for hours and just listen. That grew to where I was in Sutton one time. Sutton, West Virginia, which is the home of Flatwoods Monster.
Right.
And I was talking to my friend there who has the Flatwoods Monster Museum, and he's like, hey, these people down the road here have a store that use a Bigfoot costume for like promotion. So I went down and I walked in and I'm talking walking around looking at stuff, and the owner looks at me and he says, hey, can I help you? And I'm like, I heard you have a Bigfoot costume. And he looks at me and said, well, who the hell are you and why do you want to know? Then his son walks out and says, hey, Dad, that's the guy you've been watching on YouTube. We struck up a conversation and then a friendship, and eventually the son of the owner, him and his mom, wanted to start a museum. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. I will, whatever I got, I'll donate, or put on a loan to the museum to get it started. So I did. I donated which is where this book comes from, just reports and stuff that I've taken.
Right.
And whatever few casts I had. When we were there to open the museum, they said, hey, it'd be cool to do a festival. I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. When do you want to do that? And this is during the soft opening of the museum.
Right.
And David says, how about on the hard opening? And me and his mom looked at him and was like, that's only 3 weeks away. The fire department, first off, bought enough food for like 100 people. That's all they was expecting.
Okay.
And all of a sudden there was 1,500 people that showed up. And so that's grown. And now this year, the festival was 3 days and there was like between 20 and 30,000 people. Wow. But that's how I got into just the Bigfoot. How I got into Bigfoot, then how I got into Bigfoot, I guess, culture, I guess you'd say.
Right.
People started asking me to come to festivals and things like that. So that's pretty much how I got into it.
So West Virginia Cryptids.
Yep. It's got 11 cryptids in it, it's the name cryptid gets thrown out there for a lot of stuff.
Right.
Like Mothman and the Flatwoods Monster, I don't feel are cryptids. I think they were something else.
Okay.
But they get lumped into the cryptid thing. Mark Randall, done the artwork for the book, contacted me. He's a friend of mine out of Indiana. Said, hey, would you like to do a book, a visual guidebook for, West Virginia? I'm like,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I'm not a writer. I will tell you, I'm not a writer. If it wasn't for that Grammarly app, I'd probably
I love that too.
But the hardest part about this little book here was taking all the information that I researched and condensing it to 250 to 300 words.
Oh, wow.
So
this book is called Old Man of the Mountain.
Yep, the West Virginia Bigfoot. It's basically just a collection of reports and stuff I've taken from the mountain state.
Hi, everybody. It's Miss B here. As you remember from a couple episodes ago, we spoke with Greg Taylor about Barclay Cemetery. And Greg has been on these mountains much of his life, hunting,
traveling, dirt roads, fishing, you name
so you're
it.
very familiar with the men of the wild.
Yeah. So I was probably back there a quarter mile, maybe half of a mile, just sitting in the woods. There's a concrete pillar next to the road.
Okay.
I was back in there a ways, and all of a sudden I just really got an eerie feeling. I felt like somebody was watching me.
Okay.
So I decided to leave, and the whole way out, I just had chills. Back in 2010, friends of mine from Williamsport wanted to come up small game hunting. So my nephew Logan and myself took them not too far from the Barclay Mountain Cemetery up on Carbon Run Road. And there's an old, it almost looks, I'm thinking it's a grade where the coal cars used to run.
Okay.
So it's a kind of a narrow railroad grade that shoots straight out through the woods, straight as an arrow. One of my friends wasn't very versed in walking around the woods, so we left him on the railroad grade, and we all spread out, and we were just small game hunting, nothing serious, just kind of walking around. And we walked back in probably, I'm going to say 3/4 of a mile to a mile. And we came to a spot where there was a big hemlock tree down over the railroad grade. So we stood there wondering if we should head back or what do you want to do? So we were like, you know what, let's see what's beyond this broke down hemlock tree. So we crawled underneath it, got to the other side, and out there in the woods, a mile back in the woods, was like a pyramid of pine cones. We're talking hundreds of pine cones, a pyramid of pine cones that stood about, I'm going to say 3.5 to 4 feet high, with hundreds of pine cones.
At this point, the technical part of my brain started throwing around some calculations. I was thinking it would have taken a lot more pine cones than a few hundred. When we were last at Barclay, we had that incident of the message that was written in pine cones to turn back. Those pine cones were pretty uniform in size, and I had then calculated them to be about 3.5 inches long by 1.5 inches thick. Let's ask ChatGPT how many pine cones it would actually take. How many tightly packed pine cones would it take to make a pyramid that is 3.5 feet tall with a 3.5 foot square as the base if the pine cones were 3.5 inches tall by 1.5 inches thick?
It was intriguing to see that.
Wow, 1,713 pine cones. That would take quite a while to collect.
Yeah. So it makes me wonder what did that, the time it takes to gather up all those pine cones, they weren't all just sitting there, they had to find them, and why is it right there?
Right. So it was like it was almost like it was marked.
It was like it was like a mark or something. I don't know. It was interesting. We spread out. We were probably all, 80 yards apart. And every one of us had an experience when we all regrouped. So for me, where I was, I ended up finding the entrance to an old coal shaft.
Okay.
I mean, it was all grown up, but it was definitely a coal shaft. And so I'm sitting there and I heard a crazy ruckus come down off the other side of the ravine. Nothing to see. I thought maybe a bear was coming down over there.
Really?
Like it was that loud. Nothing was there. Okay, so I was like, okay. Then all of a sudden it got totally calm. No birds, no wind, nothing. And then I heard what sounds like rocks hitting together, like loud and very repetitious. My nephew thought that somebody was watching him the whole time. Larry saw a grouse. They like to hang out under hemlock trees and they don't necessarily just flush.
Right.
He was watching one, there was nothing around, and the thing just flushed and took off. Something spooked it. And my other friend Joe saw somebody, he thought it was a guy walking through the woods with his gun, but he was like gray colored. It was real, but it wasn't real. I don't know how to explain it. And then another person heard somebody say, "These are my woods." And we all heard the noise of the rocks hitting together. It wasn't like anything I've ever heard in the woods before. Like some birds will make a similar noise, but this was loud, repetitious, a little freaky. It was intriguing to see that, and it was a little spooky.
So driving on this road kind of is a little apprehensive, even if it's daylight or twilight. Really apprehensive if it's dark out, because back in the early 2000s, my best friend and I were driving on this road, and we were going up to where I'm from in Canton, and it was a stormy night, and it was like right around here. It was really dark out. I saw something as we come up over the curve here I was driving, so out of my corner of my left eye, and then it kind of meandered across the road, and when it got in front of our headlights, it was right up through here, right past the guardrail. So got out in front of the headlights, and I noticed it was on 2 feet, and it went across and it went right up through there. When it came across the front, my lights were on high beam because it was so dark and like rainy out. And it got in front of the car and it stopped. It was black. You couldn't make out any distinguishing features on it. It definitely wasn't a bear walking on two legs. My friend is very logical, does not believe in certain things, and I was just gonna pass it off as I thought I saw a deer. And my friend looked at me and she was just like, "Bridget, what the F was that?" And the only thing, every time we talk about it, the only thing we can come to is that it was an actual like baby Bigfoot or a Sasquatch, because I was driving a small 4-door sedan. So it wasn't a big car, but it definitely stood stood as high as my car in front of us, and just the gate. And I don't know, it was enough to freak us out. So I definitely do not like driving this road at night. Even when I'm with somebody, it just gives me enough of a chill. And that is my personal story of a possible encounter with a Sasquatch. I'm here with Mike Famelot. He is a full-time Bigfoot hunter. He travels all across the country. What got you involved in Bigfoot hunting and searching for cryptids?
Well, it was back in 2011, so we're talking a couple years ago.
Okay.
I was on a research expedition with my buddy Jimmy, and the last night we ended up hearing 2 tree knocks. And then I was like, we got a rock thrown at us from the woods, a fist-sized rock. And I was like, nope, this is how horror movies start. I'm out of here. And so then, I went to the car, scared to the car. And my buddy Jimmy came out. He's like, Mike, Bigfoots knock on trees and they throw rocks. This could be Bigfoot activity. That's the whole point of why we're here.
Right.
So I was like, okay. So we went back out by the fire. Over the course of the next 15 minutes, 4 more of these fist-sized rocks came crashing down, landed 5 to 10 feet from us. So now my buddy Jimmy, he was like, I got an idea. I'm going to throw a rock back at it. I said, Jimmy, I don't think that's a good idea, man. So he takes a rock and he chucks it back in that direction. And I knew it wasn't a person because a 15-pound laptop-sized boulder came crashing down, landed 5 feet from us.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that was it. That was our first experience.
So where was this experience at?
This is in Torreyes State Park in Florida's northern panhandle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of Bigfoot activity down around that area too, isn't there?
Absolutely. It's where Stacy Brown Jr. got his famous thermal imaging of a Bigfoot. So that was right out of Torreyes State Park as well.
So when you say you travel all across the country, this is your full-time job.
It is. I tent camped 129 nights last year, and we're on track to do 139 this year. So full-time thing. I speak, what I do is I speak at libraries during the day, and they fund my way to go camp at national parks and state forests at night and film my show, Looking for Bigfoot.
Hey everybody, it's Miss B here. I am here with Mike Cook of Cook Cryptid Research, and I see you also make sauces.
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch.
Yes.
Very cool.
I am a cryptozoologist originally from Southeast Kentucky. That's where I started my research. 22 years ago this October, I had a Bigfoot roll down the hill in front of me into a river. And it just started from there. About a year passed before I really came to terms with what I'd saw. And after I figured it out, I said, okay, this is my life now. So that began the journey to find answers. And I tell people now that Bigfoot made me a better person. Throughout 22 years, I've had so many encounters. I've had eyewitness statements that have told me they've reached out and touched these things.
Oh, wow.
But my most notable encounter happened on October 6, 2018.
Okay.
When me and 2 other individuals were surrounded by 6 of them in the forest of Berea, Kentucky. This incident actually ended up on These Woods Are Haunted on Travel Channel.
Okay, yes.
And since then, my life has been kind of weird. But, the event that happened on October 6th was most notable but most terrifying experience I ever had. And not because I feared for my life or anything. I've been in several situations where my life has been in danger. And death has never been a real scare for me.
Because you were a military nurse, correct?
Correct. I was deployed twice to Iraq.
Okay.
And the second tour, I was wounded. We won't get into the grim details of that, but there was a moment there that it was dark. And all I asked the other medic to do was keep me alive to see the sky. I wanted to see the sunrise and the sky one more time. When sunrise happened, I hadn't left yet. We finally got rescued. We got to where we needed to go. At the same time, though, the night of October 6th, I feared that the 2 people that I cared about the most at this moment something was going to happen to them.
Right.
And I put them in that danger. I'm the one who was the catalyst to bring them into the woods that night. And this is what happened. So the whole story takes a long time to tell. But people can get on Travel Channel, Discovery Go, and watch the episode. It's pretty accurate.
Okay.
95% of it happened. 5% of it's kind of amped up for TV. It's a
Hollywood,
TV show.
you know, exactly.
But, you know, that encounter in particular changed everything about this for me. In where I'd had these still closed-minded notations that these things were this, and now I'm thinking something else is going on. I'm still on the flesh and blood. I think they're born flesh and blood, but I think they're endowed with certain abilities that enable them to do things that we can't and never will be able to explain.
Right.
And that's so beautiful in its own. It's a beautiful, beautiful study. It's a beautiful creature. And to do this stuff, to have these fans, to have and it's weird to this day that I have people come up to me and they want to take pictures with me and sign autographs and stuff like this. And it's just like this guy. He's been standing here waiting on me to talk to him for a minute. And I remember him from last year. I do remember you. But it's just like that. I mean, we have kids, we have older people, we have, you know, brothers in military, we have people that come here. It's a plethora of different cultures and different personalities. And it's just a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. It is a soup, a stew of weirdness, and I love it. I'm just a normal guy who has a very weird hobby, but there's a couple of thousand people here today.
I'm here with Gwen Purcell.
Yes.
Who is the coordinator of the Central Pennsylvania Bigfoot and Cryptid Festival.
Yes.
Tell us how you got into this.
I saw a Bigfoot in 2021, very close to my house. Just started researching, and the thing that I found through going to all these festivals and conferences is that all of the festivals are so far away. I mean, I've traveled 10 hours to go to a festival in South Carolina, Tennessee. So I came home one day last year and was like, I think we should put a festival on here. And my husband was like, are you crazy? And I did. And we had 28 vendors last year.
Okay.
And it was estimated about 5,000 people.
That's awesome.
Which is...
For first year?
For first year is incredible.
Yeah.
I was told I broke records for cryptid festivals to be that successful in the first year. But here we are, year number 2. We have over 110 vendors here, food trucks included.
Congratulations.
It was incredible. Yeah. And I don't even know what the number count is even close to.
And it's hot.
It is
so
hot.
Everybody knows, it is hot.
It is hot.
As
And we just had a little sprinkle.
Yeah,
of
a
rain,
little sprinkle
yeah.
and a little bit of a draft. You also have a podcast, correct?
I have 2.
2.
I started on with the CARC Universal Group. We have a YouTube and Twitter.
What is the CARC?
It's the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective. So there's a group of 5 of us, and we research anything strange and crazy.
Okay.
In fact, our motto is where strange things happen.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have a podcast on that group called From Behind Tall Trees.
Oh.
Where we interview, it started out as a Bigfoot podcast, and then when I took it over, we kind of morphed into anything wild, crazy, weird, and unexplained.
Okay.
So we tackle all of the subjects on my show. All the subjects,
awesome.
Yeah. And then just recently started Bigfoot, the podcast, with Bigfoot Country Radio.
That's cool.
Which is pretty awesome.
Yes.
And we just did a live recording from here, so I'm super excited to get that rolling. But it's fairly new. We just recorded our 5th episode, so.
Yeah, you're just like us. This will be our 3rd.
Yeah, so welcome to the podcasting craziness that is Bigfoot.
So you said with your other podcast, you deal in all things.
All things crazy.
So we also talk about some of the lesser known cryptid creatures.
Yeah.
Like the Susquehanna seal, the squonk.
The squonk, that's a cool one.
The albatwitch.
Yeah.
The story of Raystown Rays.
Yeah, I'd love to hear stories. I'd love to hear encounters. I'd love to hear the unexplained things that you hear or see that you just can't
figure out,
put your finger on it. We'd love to hear that stuff, and we love to research that stuff. So if somebody has something going on, tell me all about it, because I'm on it.
If you listen to the episode, you hear a little bit about the time me and a certain somebody else saw Bigfoot.
You saw Bigfoot?
We saw a baby.
A baby Bigfoot?
Baby Bigfoot.
Oh my gosh, girl.
In a rainstorm.
How long ago?
20, not even, maybe 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Maybe. Up near the Williamsport area. Kind of walk like, do you remember that old TV show, Land of the Lost?
Yes.
You remember Shaka?
Mm-hmm.
That's how they walked.
Oh,
and they stopped,
interesting.
and it was dark.
I've read some reports from up in the Williamsport area. It's life-changing.
Yes, it was.
It is life-changing.
It was. How can the people who listen to Eerie Echoes or watch our show find you guys and follow PA Ohio Bigfoot Research?
Okay, so my wife and I are both on Facebook. We have the Penn Ohio Bigfoot Field Evidence Research Organization.
Okay.
I'm part of the PSR, which is Pennsylvania Sasquatch Research.
Okay.
And we're also on Instagram. So on Instagram, it's Penn Ohio Bigfoot Research.
Thank you so much for
so
your
much.
time.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Guys, check Dave out. He's got a lot of stuff coming out. He's got new books coming out, and he's got a new TV show coming out, too.
Yeah, I'm on a new show by Christopher Garantano called A Haunting We Will Go. It's supposed to release this late September, early October. You can check out my website. It's www.davespinkspi.com if you want to see all the TV shows I'm on, the movies I'm in, my books, all where I'm appearing next, all that good stuff is on my website. So check it out.
Well, thank you, Dave.
And all my books are available on Amazon as well.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you.
Where can people find you, Les?
You look me up on Facebook, or you can find West Virginia Cryptids and Strange Encounters. Just put WV, Cryptids and Strange Encounters. You can find my page there. If you have something you want to share, you're more welcome to hit me up there. Or you can email me at wvcase304@yahoo.com.
Okay.
And now, more than happy to listen to whatever you want to tell me.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Les.
you.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
It was my absolute pleasure.
Now, where can people find you?
You can go to Crypto Guru Ron. That's my website.
Okay.
All the kids are talking about websites nowadays.
Yes.
So you can also find me on Amazon or Facebook. My website, Crypto Guru Ron, that will also have like where I will be appearing next and everything. So.
Okay. Yeah, so people can actually follow you and listen up.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, I will be seeing you again.
I hope so. I hope so.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much,
I
my dear.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you so much for giving us this interview. I really
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
And you live back, want to go to the Crooked Goose.
Yes.
Grab a pint at the Crooked Goose.
Yes,
Crooked
we will.
Goose.
Thank you very much,
Thank you. My
Sean.
pleasure.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And where can we find your show?
It's on YouTube, In the Shadow of Big Red Eye, it's called. My handle is Sussex County Bigfoot NJ, but you can find it. We just hit over 4,000 subscribers, so we are rocking on.
Fantastic.
I know, it's amazing. This whole Bigfoot thing is absolutely amazing.
That is so phenomenal. And we really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. Say the name of your show one more time and your website and all that stuff so people know where to find you.
Absolutely. It's In the Shadow of Big Red Eye, and my website is shadowofredeye.com. You can find everything there.
Thank you, Mike. You have a great night.
You too.
How do people find you?
Oh
How
my
do people
gosh.
find your podcast? How do people find out more about the festival?
Girl, I'm like Bad Money. I'm everywhere.
Oh, okay, I know that one. I know that one. That's
Oh my
a good
gosh.
thing.
We have the Got Knockers Facebook page. We have the Got Knockers community Facebook page. We have the website, gotknockers.org.
Okay.
I'm available email, text messages. We have the CARC Facebook page. We have the YouTube channel.
You already have the dates for this for next year. You want to
August
share?
9th.
August
9th. Same place.
And where is this?
This is All Homes Day in Elysburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay. And it's at the Memorial Park in Elysburg, Pennsylvania. So
it's going to be bigger.
It's going to be fantastic.
I already have vendors that are not set up here that came here today and are handing me business cards saying, I want to come next year.
Yeah.
So
I have a feeling Miss B might be back.
I hope so.
Thank you so
You're
much. It was so
welcome. You're
nice
welcome.
meeting you. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. You've got a big crowd that loves talking with you. Where can people find you?
Michael W. Cook on Facebook and Instagram, Sasquatch on Facebook, and www.sasquatch.com. It's SOSSSQUATCH.com.
Which is all the amazing sauces that you make because you're also a foodie.
I am a foodie. I'm an award-winning chef, amongst other things. So many other things coming out. New kind of old TV show. I'm not supposed to say much, but we can say that Finding Bigfoot isn't over.
Awesome.
I have a cartoon I'm going to be voicing the character on coming up.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. You have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to the news.
has been some extraordinarily revealing stuff in UFO news lately. Let's dive right in. Luis Elizondo, also known as Lou, a former Pentagon insider, has written a revealing book titled Imminent, Inside the Pentagon's Hunt for UFOs, where he shares detailed accounts of the U.S. government's decades-long engagement with UFOs, now commonly referred to as UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena. Elizondo, who was key in declassifying and releasing significant UFO videos in 2017, provides a deep dive into the inner workings of government programs designed to investigate and sometimes cover up these phenomena. One of the most striking claims in the book is about the Roswell incident, which Elizondo asserts was real and involved the recovery of non-human bodies from a crash site. As a matter of fact, he says that it was 2 ships that crashed. One was able to escape, the other, that we famously know of, with the retrieval and alien bodies. These bodies, alongside the wreckage, were initially taken to a military base, but their fate after that remains unclear. Elizondo also suggests that Roswell wasn't an isolated incident, hinting at other crashes, potentially linked to U.S. nuclear testing, which might have interfered with the propulsion systems of these advanced craft. In addition to the UFO revelations, Elizondo discusses the U.S. government's experiments with remote viewing, a form of psychic espionage. Although he admits to not being particularly adept at it, he theorizes that these abilities could be tied to quantum mechanics rather than being purely paranormal. Elizondo criticizes the Pentagon's reluctance to fully disclose what it knows, arguing that the government has been aware of these phenomena for many years, dating back to the 1940s at least. He calls for greater transparency, expressing concern that the public and elected officials are often kept in the dark about critical information. His book has stirred significant interest and debate, particularly around the implications of the U.S. government's long-standing secrecy regarding UFOs and UAPs. And why is this news? Because there's something lurking on the edge of our existence. A hidden knowledge that's about to unhide itself. How exciting. Stay tuned for more to come. This news report right here is just breaking the ice on a much, much bigger picture, and we here at Eerie Echoes are going to be digging deeper into this in our upcoming episodes. Just starting to learn about what's going on with disclosure and our government's long-standing involvement with little green men? Visit our website, EerieEchoesShow.com, and click on the link for this episode titled Where the Pennsylvania Wild Things Are, for some resources to get you started on what Lou Elizondo is doing within the UFO UAP world these days. But for now, I'm thrilled to bring you back to the illustrious Miss B.
And now, as promised, let's interview Micah Khan, director of The Zombie Wedding.
God!
How did you come up with the concept of the movie?
So Greg D'Alessandro came up with the script. He's the CEO of the Weekly World News. He's been with the company for like a while.
I love that.
Yeah, and so he wrote the play that it's based on, and then he just wanted to make it into a movie because the Weekly World News was moving into film and TV. So yeah, I came into it, I would say 2 months before they were gonna film. They found me through another AD that they had, who was just like, hey, check out this guy's short film and see if he's the right vibe for what you guys are looking for. And Greg liked it. So Greg called me and he was like, hey, you want to direct this movie? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And that's literally how I came on board. Because I was like, listen, you had me at zombies, you had me at weird stuff. I mean, like, it's the Weekly World News, so like, when I was making the movie, I make a bunch of references to other things in the background of the movie. Like, actually, it's been really fun because it's like, we've had a couple people who've seen the movie a couple of times now, right? Like, who've come to multiple screenings of the movie. And this last time, I think we were in New Jersey, Ridgewood, maybe.
Okay.
This lady comes up to me and she's like, I've seen this movie 3 times now. And I'm like, okay, great. And she's like, this is the first time I noticed everything you did in the background. And I was like, oh, okay, good. I was like, people to see like the little sub stories I've created in the background.
Oh, that's cool. What's your favorite part about directing this film?
I love big ensemble movies, and this was a big ensemble movie, and that's what I really wanted to do because my strength is really in blocking actors and camera movement and stuff like that. My favorite scene to shoot was the cemetery scene. We wanted to light the interior of like this mausoleum type thing. I don't know what it was called. We couldn't figure it out, but our gaffer was like a super genius and like lit it from the inside through reflections. It was crazy. Yeah, I mean, also the cemetery was so cool. And to shoot like I don't know, just shooting in a cemetery was sick. And like when you drive in, there's like a grave for Romero, and I was like, yo, that's perfect. That was a good day. You know, working with the cast was really fun. I think the cast of the movie is just like so great. It's so hard in the film business to like cast right. And everyone came in at 100% and were just firing on all cylinders, and like everyone was so believable as their character that I'm just kind of sad the movie is shorter than it actually it would be fun to do like an extended cut of this movie just to show people like how into their characters some people got.
The movie comes out on Friday, September 13th.
Yeah, Friday the 13th, baby.
Where will people be able to see it?
So right now it's only in Los Angeles, Denver, Atlanta, Houston, and Chicago. But it's releasing same day on VOD. So it's like on Apple, Amazon, Vudu, all the satellite cable channels you can rent it on or buy it. Yeah, September 13th. So it comes that same day on all those platforms. You can pre-order it now on Apple.
So what got you into movies and directing, Micah?
I don't know. It's weird. It's I would say I grew up watching a lot of American action movies.
Okay.
And I grew up watching a lot of Bollywood musicals. That's what I grew up watching. And then I kind of discovered Sam Raimi movies. And Sam Raimi was a huge influence on me. And so was like Steven Spielberg and like, you know, and more recently, like our James Cameron is another big influence on me. And then my biggest probably influence is like someone like Genndy Tartakovsky, who's more of an animation director. Like Samurai Jack and like Dexter's Laboratory and all those that were influence. Courage the Cowardly Dog was a huge influence on me.
I love Courage.
Love Courage. What else? I mean, my more recent influences are some like people like Joe Wright. I'm a big fan of. He does not do anything paranormal, but I just love his movies. It was a combination of a couple things. It was like growing up, I'd seen a bunch of Sam Raimi movies. I definitely like recreated Army of Darkness specifically a lot growing up. I love Army of Darkness. It was the first Sam Raimi project I'd ever seen. It was just like I lived next to a video rental store when I was growing up. It like the guy there was like, "You gotta watch this movie, kid." I was like, "Okay," and he would like sneak horror movies into like kids movies for me. It was awesome. Because he knew my parents would never let me watch horror movies at home. But so I'd watched Army of Darkness a lot, and then it was like a weird combination of a couple things. It was like, and this might be like a representation thing more than anything else, but like I'd seen like a bunch of Canadian independent South Asian films like Bollywood Hollywood, American Desi, and I was like, oh, people like us make movies. That's interesting. And that was like a big thing because like at the time my parents were like, no film or like no arts. You're gonna be a doctor or an engineer and that's it. And like there was like no like at all. And then what happened specifically? I remember this is the moment where I gave up on everything that my parents were talking about. I watched Signs, and the behind the scenes came up. I forget if it was like after the movie or like an interview like I had seen afterwards, and I saw M. Night, and I was like, "That's a brown man." And I was like, "I'm a brown man. Could I do this?" And that was like really like the start of it. And my parents have hated me ever since.
Don't worry, they'll smile back when you're like, "Thank you, Academy."
My dream project, dude, is adapting Train to Busan in America.
Oh man, I'm a massive fan of the Train to Busan series kind of stuff.
Love it. I would do it. Train to Boston, Train to Brooklyn, L Train to Brooklyn. Let's do it. I don't know.
Young Sang-ho. It's also the K-dramas, the police dramas. I watched one episode. I was so pulled in, and the way that the stories develop and interdevelop, and then just become this like wow moment. You're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
You know, and Train to Busan is the only horror film that I have ever seen that has made me emotional and brought me to actual tears.
Yeah. It's a great movie. When it first came out, I made all my friends watch it. I was like, please, for the love of God, watch Train to Busan. And then like, I remember like, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, something like that. I had seen my first Bong Joon-ho movie.
Oh, wow.
And I was like in my early 20s, and it became my personality for a little bit. I was like, guys, you gotta watch what they're doing in Korea. And no one cared at the time. Like, everyone was just like, whatever, man. And I was like, you gotta watch what they're doing in Korea. I don't know why I turned into a smoker when I'm in my but I remember seeing, you know, Memories of Murder. The Host was like, specifically the tone of The Host is just like something I'm fighting for. Like that, like Bong Joon-ho's tone of like his movies are incredible.
Yeah.
And then what else? Yeah, Korean movies. The Wailing was like, I'll you know, so many. Sorry, I can't even think of all of them right now.
Give us a little idea of what people can expect in the movie.
Really weird costumes. We just kind of like went crazy with the costumes. Our thought process with the costume designer name is Olga. Olga Turka also worked on Terrifier 1 and 2. We were just like, what if like when people become zombies, they just stop caring about what people think about what they wear and just kind of wear whatever they think looks good. And they just kind of lose all inhibition. They're just like, whatever we want to wear, we'll wear it. And it just results in like really weird costumes. And I love that about it. And I love the growth of the costumes. I like that if you really pay attention to the movie, you can see like there's a scene in the movie where the town starts to get in on it. I don't actually, hold on, don't quote me that. I don't know if that scene was cut out or not. I have to rewatch the movie.
There's definitely a hint of that. I've seen the movie a few times now. There's definitely that hint.
Yeah, there's a scene specifically where Coco, the villain, is like stalking the lead Ashley, and there's, if you just see like the town starts giving away their weirdest clothes, it's just like he's hiding behind like a rack of clothes, and it's like all the costumes you'll see later in the movie. It's like no jokes like that.
What's your next project? What are you doing?
Yeah.
What is it? The future?
I have a couple things. I've got like a sci-fi thriller that I'm working on right now, which is like a one-room sci-fi thriller that takes place entirely on the bridge of a spaceship. I just wrote a movie about a guy who finds out his dad is Bigfoot and is forced by the U.S. government to go out and find him.
We will have you back on.
I was just going to say, we will interview you again about that.
There's something in my head right now. I don't know what's happening with it yet. It's cooking in here. I'm writing down details. But I want to write a Mothman movie really bad. I don't know why it's in my head right now. All I got is vibes. What cryptid do you absolutely believe in?
Oh, I believe in Bigfoot.
Oh, 100%.
I've had a Bigfoot experience.
No, tell me about it.
Okay, so it was about 15, 20 years ago. And my best friend from college and I were driving from her parents' house to my house. Very rural road, very dark at night, storming out. And I saw something out of the corner of my eye. And I wasn't sure what it was because I was driving, so it's off on my left. And I stopped and I realized that it's not a deer and it's not a bear and I'm not sure what it is. But I've already decided in my mind, because Gina is so absolutely logical, that if she asked me why I stopped, I saw a deer. I thought I saw a deer. Well, this thing walks in front of our car. And it was on a smaller size, but it was still taller than my car.
Yeah.
And it got in front of the car. When it's a deer, you get the reflection off the eyes, or you get to see the color of the deer. You can make it out.
Yeah.
This was just black. Stopped right in front of us, turned and looked at us, and just stood there for a little bit. Then wandered off onto the other side of the road and up on the embankment. And as I start to pull away, after I've realized it's gone, I'm driving, trying to figure it out. And Gina just all of a sudden looks at me and she goes, "Bridget, what the fuck was that?" I was like, "Oh, good. You saw it too. It wasn't just me being insane." She's like, no, and she described it exactly the same way.
Oh, unreal. Diego, what about you?
So I've had experiences and things like that, but you're talking about cryptids. And I've never really seen a cryptid myself, but I've always believed that there was something, and I've always been fascinated until we started the podcast. And this was even before our first episode aired. And it was, I had never heard of, I've heard of Thunderbird, but I always thought it was a desert thing, you know, out in the West, you know, Utah. You know, it was more related to the Native Americans of that area. But apparently, one day, Ms. B was just talking to one of her neighbors. She's like, have you seen anything weird in this area here? You know, and, you know, but it's just like, weird? How do you mean? She's like, and she goes and tells a story about, like, maybe was it like 15, 20 years ago also, that she was
watering her flowers and her grandson was on the front porch with her.
And what she saw, she described perfectly to a T. What I then realized after looking this up, the exact account of so many people that have seen Thunderbird in Pennsylvania, the Appalachian area.
So what about you, Micah?
Well, I've had 2 for sure experiences with ghosts. And like aggressive experiences. So when my girlfriend and I first started dating, one of our first dates, we went ghost hunting at an abandoned prison. And when we were there, we got surrounded by shadow people. It was insane. It was such a weird feeling. We're like, okay, you're seeing this, right? And she was like, yeah, I'm seeing this too. And I'm like, so we're not just having a collective, like, we're having a collective psychosis of anything. And that was wild. And that was the first experience where I was like, that is nuts. Like, I've always like loved the idea of cryptids and stuff like that. Like, that was my first real experience with that. And then the second one, we were making a movie in a haunted hotel. And I wasn't on set yet. I was in the hotel room that we were staying at the hotel while we were filming. And so all of a sudden I'm tying my shoes, I'm looking down, and I just see a pair of feet walk up to me. And then I look up and there's nothing there.
Oh,
whoa.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Oh my God.
Yay.
I just want to say thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm really looking forward to the film, though.
All right, guys, so let me know if you need anything else from me.
All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for your time, Micah. We really appreciate you taking the time to interview with us today. And we wish you all the best on the new movie, The Zombie Wedding. And for everybody else out there who's listening, you can actually see The Zombie Wedding Friday the 13th, September 2024. Go to our website and you'll have all the information on where you can watch the movie at. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Eerie Echoes with Miss B. We hope you enjoyed Where the Pennsylvania Wild Things Are as much as we enjoyed presenting it to you. If today's stories captured your interest, make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any of our future episodes. We're eager to hear your thoughts on our eerie, paranormal, or otherworldly adventures. Leave a review on your preferred podcast platform and remember to rate us because your feedback helps us reach more and more listeners just like you. Follow us on social media for updates, behind-the-scene content, and more eerie tales. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, along with other social media platforms at EerieEchoesShow. If you have a story to tell or a topic you'd like us to cover, send us an email at fanmail@EerieEchoesShow.com. We'd love to hear from you. Check out our website to get up-to-date information and some of our really nifty merch at EerieEchoesShow.com. Okay, so as you can tell, there were so many people that were involved in this month's episode. I had to make a list because I did not want to forget anybody. We want to thank Bigfoot researcher Michael W. Cook, my friend Gina Edwards, who traveled with me to the Central Pennsylvania Bigfoot and Cryptids Festival, Bigfoot investigator Mike Vermillion, host and producer of the Sasquatch Experience, Sean Foker, UFO and cryptid investigator Stan Gordon, Penn, Ohio Bigfoot research founders Jamie and Jenny King, author and cryptid investigator Les Odell, host of the Bigfoot podcast and From Behind the Tall Trees, along with being the founder of the Central Pennsylvania Bigfoot and Cryptid Festival, Gwen Purcell, United States Air Force veteran and paranormal investigator Dave Spinks, friend, neighbor, and amazing storyteller Greg Taylor. The t-shirt that was worn in the cemetery when Miss B was interviewing Greg Taylor is from the amazing Brazilian-born Iowa-based band, the B Twins. That is B, the number 2, W-I-N-S. You can find them at b2wins.com and B2Wins Official on all their social media platforms. So, until next time, stay curious, stay spooky, and remember to always keep one eye open because you never know what might be lurking in the shadows.
Eerie Echoes with Miss B is a BAM Studios production. Hosted and co-produced by Bridget Callahan, aka Miss B. Narration by Diego Paul. Researched and written by Miss B and Diego Paul for Eerie Echoes. Produced, edited, mixed, and mastered by BAM Studios. Theme song composed and performed by Diego Paul. Distributed by BAM Studios Podcast Network.